Okay, tea sippers, buckle in, because what I am about to unload on you tonight is going to change the entire conversation about Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and the so-called untouchable Carter empire forever. Because tell me why Beyoncé? Yes, that Beyoncé, the woman who sells out stadiums, the woman who allegedly walks on rose petals, has now transformed herself into a full-time, licensed, apron-wearing, clipper-holding neighborhood barber for her own husband on a live stadium stage in front of the entire planet. I am not exaggerating. She stood there. She held the clippers. She shaved that man's head like she was working a Tuesday afternoon shift at a strip mall salon. And baby, if that is not the loudest, most desperate, most panicked cry for public sympathy I have ever seen out of a billion-dollar household, then I don't know what desperation looks like anymore. And that is only the appetizer. Because Jay-Z, according to what is now bubbling out of TMZ of all publications, TMZ, the same outlet that has spent years running defense for this man, Jay-Z is being caught in what looks like a straight-up fabrication on stage, and the fallout is about to be nuclear. So sit down, pour something warm, because tonight we are going all the way in. Hello, my beautiful tea lovers, and welcome back to the sofa. I have missed you. I have missed you like Mama Tina misses a good lace front installation. I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking, and I trust you are also doing fantastic, because we are about to have a very entertaining conversation. Now, before we go anywhere, I want you to do me a favor and lock in. Because tonight, I am not just talking about a concert. I am talking about a coordinated, panicked, multi-front public relations rescue mission staged by one of the most powerful couples on the planet, and it is failing in real time. The Roots picnic weekend that just wrapped was supposed to be the moment Jay-Z reset the narrative, the moment Beyoncé reminded the world she is untouchable, and the moment the culture bowed back down to the Carters. Instead we got a barbershop skit, a Mary J. Blige impersonation, a Rihanna cameo that felt like community service, and a TMZ article that has legitimately blown the doors off this entire operation. So let us start where the smoke started, night one. Let us talk about night one, because I do not think we ever properly recovered from what happened on that stage. Now, you know the hair situation is still going. You know it. I know it. The internet has decided it will never let go of it. And listen, when a woman is repeatedly telling the world she is not bothered, she does not usually then dedicate an entire theatrical sequence of a concert to disproving one comment about a lace front. She does not detangle. She does not shampoo. She does not comb out the afro. She does not then pick up a pair of clippers and take that afro clean off. That is not the behavior of a person who is unbothered. That is the behavior of a person and an entire household that has been rattled to the foundation. And Beyoncé. Since when did Beyoncé become a hairdresser? Since when did she add cosmetology to the resume? I thought there was a whole man who used to run a whole salon in a whole other decade, and that was where the styling was supposed to happen. I did not know Beyoncé was carrying that kind of range. And where is Mama Tina in all of this? Because Mama Tina raised that woman, and now Mama Tina is out here co-signing her daughter turning into a full-service stadium barber to protect a man's ego? Ma'am, Arrogant needs to file a workplace complaint, because at this rate his job is being handed out at concerts to protect Jay-Z's public image. This is not talent. This is triage. And this is the part that really got me. Beyoncé had to pivot from being Jay-Z's stadium barber into being Jay-Z's backup Mary J. Blige, because Mary herself apparently did not want to sing her own record on that stage. And I have to be honest with you, I don't blame Mary one bit. Mary and the Diddler, as we all know, have been thick as thieves for many, many years, and after Jay-Z was busy denying his best friend the way Peter denied Christ, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times in 3 separate interviews. I do not blame Mary at all for looking at that stage and saying, you know what, Beyoncé, you go ahead. You handle that. You picked him. You go sing his rescue mission. So Beyoncé had to become the barber and the vocalist and the emotional support system for her husband on live television, and I need somebody in that household to sit down and ask themselves a very honest question. Is any of this actually helping Jay-Z? Because from where I am sitting, every single desperate move only makes the situation look worse. Beyoncé is not saving Jay-Z. Beyoncé is drowning with Jay-Z, and Mama Tina is holding the anchor. And then, because clearly the adults in the room decided the barbershop routine was not enough, the daughter had to come out and play the piano. Listen, and I want to be very careful here, because you know how I feel about pulling children into grown folks' problems. I do not do that on this couch. It is a hard line for me. So I am not going to sit here and dissect a little girl's performance. She is a baby. She should be practicing her scales in a music room somewhere, not being used as a human character witness for her father. But it does say something, doesn't it? It says something that they had to reach that deep into the household to pull sympathy out of the audience. When you are wheeling out a child to soften public opinion about a grown man's reputation, the reputation is not in a good place. Full stop. I hope, sincerely, that the child is not being used as a shield, because she does not deserve to be dragged into the mess that the adults in that mansion have manufactured. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I want to hear you, but I am moving on because that is not my lane. Now let us pivot, because night one was not just underwhelming in the barbershop sense. It was underwhelming in the nobody was even talking about you sense. And that brings us to Foxy Brown. Oh, Foxy. Foxy. Sweetheart. Before that performance even started, Foxy Brown, allegedly still sitting on a loan from Nicki Minaj that she has yet to return, and I am only saying allegedly because that is what one particular gentleman went on record saying. Foxy Brown decided to log into her Instagram, wipe it completely clean, unfollow every single person on the platform, and then follow one man and one man only. Jay-Z. And I need you to sit with the audacity of that for a moment. This is a woman whose entire legacy in female rap has been quietly erased from the record books by the very machine she is now publicly aligning herself with. The same industry that will not book her, will not feature her, will not even mention her when they list the pioneers. That is the industry she just went online and dedicated her entire social media presence to. And she did it right before a performance where Jay-Z pulled out every female artist he could think of except her. He did not bring her out. He did not shout her out. He did not even wave in her direction. That is exactly how he feels about you, Foxy. He is telling you, publicly, that you are not worth sharing the stage with. And you are still out here rearranging your entire online identity to prop him up? Respect yourself. Please. That man and his wife are so embarrassed of your existence that they behave as though you have never been in his orbit. And here you are advertising the loyalty. It is painful to watch. What is the incentive? Because if the man is taking care of you, then explain the borrowing. Explain the loans. Explain why Nicki Minaj, who is now getting unfollowed for daring to allegedly have receipts, is the one who had to hand you money in the first place. I promise you, Nicki is not losing a single second of sleep over an unfollow from someone who never paid her back. If anything, Nicki is laughing. Because good riddance. The blind loyalty on display right now is genuinely one of the wildest things I have seen this year, and we are only in the first half of it. Okay, now let us step into the second night, because this is where things get genuinely interesting, and where the fabrication starts to smell. The first night, in my honest opinion, was a bust. Nobody was gagging. Nobody was posting. Nobody was frantically clipping viral moments. And when the numbers didn't come, when the hashtags didn't move, when even shaving your husband bald in front of a stadium didn't set the internet on fire, a decision had to be made. Because if you cannot manufacture engagement organically, you have to manufacture it artificially. And that, in my personal opinion, is exactly what happened going into night two. I saw the reports. I saw the whispers about a chaotic delay. I saw the stories about audience members already seated for over an hour while something behind the scenes supposedly fell apart. I saw the coordinated leaks about technical difficulties and last-minute scrambles. And my very first instinct, my gut, before I even processed the details, my gut said, this is a plant. This is fabricated drama. This is manufactured chaos designed to get people talking after a first night that flatlined. Because if the concert itself cannot go viral, then the chaos around the concert has to go viral. And suddenly, right on cue, Jay-Z gets to walk out and act like a savior for a crisis he may have quietly conjured himself. Convenient. Very convenient. And then the guest list. Oh, the guest list. Because who gets summoned first? Rihanna. Rihanna, of all people, gets pulled onto that stage. And let me be crystal clear about something. Rihanna did not want to be there. Rihanna's face did not want to be there. Rihanna's vocals did not want to be there. Rihanna's entire aura was screaming. I would rather be in a lab formulating a matte foundation shade for medium-deep undertones. That woman was on stage performing an obligation, not a passion. And her fans, sweet as they are, immediately started spinning it as some grand political statement, like Rihanna had chosen a side in the Nicki Minaj situation. Please, let us be adults. Have you forgotten who Rihanna is married to? Have you forgotten the case ASAP just walked out of, dismissed with a shocking ease that told anyone paying attention exactly how the wind is blowing? Do you think that freedom was free? Do you think there was no favor called in, no chip cashed, no invisible hand tilting the outcome? Do you remember when that woman's home was shotted earlier this year? Do you think that was random? Rihanna showing up on that stage was not fandom. It was rent. And even if she did secretly want to pick a side, what is she going to do? Splash some Finny setting spray in Nicki's direction? Threaten Drake with a shade of gloss? Come on. The idea that Rihanna's 10-minute cameo somehow restores Jay-Z's superpowers is comedy of the highest order. The industry has already made its decision about that man. A guest verse and a wave will not undo it. Then there was Pharrell. Now, Pharrell, my dear, I need you to sit down. I need you to sit all the way down. Because Pharrell walked out of that show doing commentary about people poking the bear, and how now the bear is out of hibernation and coming for everyone. And Pharrell, sir, go design a boot. Go glue some rhinestones onto a pair of pants. Go find a shiny hat. This is not your fight, and it is certainly not your battlefield. Because behind the scenes, something is very clearly shifting. If I had to place a bet, and I do not gamble often, I would bet that the powers that be are quietly moving to restore Drake. I would not be shocked at all if the next chapter of this saga has Drake reinstalled as the industry's designated bridge to a certain audience, quietly, without an announcement. So Pharrell, please, do your happy dance. Do it far, far away from this conversation. And this whole the Avengers are assembling narrative. Teyana Taylor, Rihanna, Beyonce, what are those women actually going to do? What is the plan? Are they going to intimidate Drake with choreography? Are they going to make Nicki Minaj disappear via harmony? Be so serious. The prayer these people should be praying every night, on both knees, is that Young Money never reunites for a joint tour. Because the day Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Lil Wayne share a stage on the same tour, the entire fabricated pecking order collapses in one night. That is why Wayne is being kept exactly where he is. That is why the leash is short. Because if Wheezy was not under management, the three of them together would be lethal. Absolutely lethal. And everybody with a functioning brain in that industry knows it. Meanwhile, back at the show, you had Eminem in the building, which raised more than one eyebrow. Did Eminem and 50 Cent fall out? Or, and hear me out, did 50 send Eminem in as reconnaissance? Because you know 50 is cooking something. You know he is deep in production on that documentary, and you know he needs footage. Maybe he just told M, go slide through. Confirm the lace front theory. Give me a good angle. I need it for the film. I am telling you, I would not put it past him. And Doja was outside too, doing the signals, doing the little devotion. And listen, that girl recently went on record saying she is only just discovering Jay-Z's catalog. So brace yourself, because when her next project drops, she is going to try to sell you a story where she has been a lifelong Jay-Z disciple. She is going to act like Jay-Z is the greatest lyricist of his generation. She is going to pretend he built himself in a vacuum. Meanwhile, be honest with yourself. Take Beyonce out of Jay-Z's timeline. Take that marriage out of the story, and what is left? A guy who would be dropping merchandise line extensions like every other early 2000s executive. His relevance has been maintained through her. It has been maintained through her presence, her marketing, her body of work carrying the household name. Say it. It is okay to say it. Now, all of that haircutting, all of that Mary J. Blige impersonating, all of that Rihanna hostage situation guest spotting, all of it was chaotic entertainment. That is not why I sat back down in this chair tonight. I sat back down because of what TMZ just did. And I need you to focus, because this next section is the real story. This is why we are here. Let us talk about the freestyle. On that stage, Jay-Z stood in front of a stadium and did what he does best. He reframed himself as the victim. He got up there and delivered a whole spoken piece where he cast himself as the target of fake activism, as the man being unfairly hunted by weaponized online outrage, as the one being crucified by internet mobs with an agenda. And I want to sit with that for a second, because that language, that entire framing, is language we have been using on this couch for years. That is our language. That is Nicki's language. That is language people like Drake and Kanye have quietly been paying the price of for over a decade. Because the truth of selective online activism is that the loudest, most performative outrage on the internet has almost never been aimed at Jay-Z. It has been aimed at Nicki, at Drake, at Kanye, at anyone the machine has decided to file down. Those are the ones who have been chewed alive by fake activists. Not him. He has been protected. He has been shielded. His entire public image has been sheltered by the very media ecosystem he now claims is attacking him. Charlemagne, still on his side. Joe Budden, still on his side. Those specific commentators who allegedly got involved with certain deals under Roc Nation years ago. Still, to this day, out here twisting the story in his favor. Angie La Rosa is still shape-shifting narratives to keep him clean. So who exactly is the fake activist attacking Jay-Z? Nobody. What is actually happening is that people are simply asking Jay-Z for the same accountability he has publicly demanded from other men for years. And that is not persecution. That is a mirror. And clearly, he does not like the reflection. And the audacity, to then invoke the whole kneeling situation, the whole political posturing chapter of his career, and use it as a moral shield in that freestyle? Shameless. Absolutely shameless. Because everybody with a working memory remembers exactly how that arrangement went down and exactly who benefited from it. To pull that receipt out on stage and wave it around like a badge is one of the most tone-deaf moves I have watched a man in his position make in years. And normally, this is where the story would end, with Jay-Z declaring victimhood, the machine amplifying him, and the news cycle moving on. Normally, but not this time. Because something happened next that I genuinely was not prepared for, and it is the reason I hit record a second time tonight. TMZ. TMZ. Are you listening? TMZ. The outlet that has been running interference for this man for the better part of 2 decades. TMZ just published, exclusively, an article contradicting Jay-Z's onstage freestyle. According to that publication, the claim Jay-Z made from that stadium stage about a certain contractual clause involving a certain young rapper, a certain deal, a certain agreement that Jay-Z presented as absolute fact. That claim is being reported as untrue. TMZ is saying, in print, in an exclusive, that there was no such clause. That Jay-Z was misrepresenting the situation. That the man got on a stage in front of thousands of people and lied. And I want you to sit with that. I want you to really sit with that. Because TMZ does not do this. TMZ has spent years positioning itself as the friendly outlet for that camp. TMZ has been the emergency exit for Jay-Z's PR team more times than we can count. TMZ has been the first phone call whenever there was a fire that needed to be politely rebranded as a warm glow. And that same TMZ just publicly, on the record, called this man a liar. That is not a leak. That is not a rumor. That is a shift. That is a tectonic plate moving under Jay-Z's feet. And when TMZ moves like that, you have to ask the harder question. Who inside the machine wants Jay-Z out? Because publications like that do not turn on a subject unless someone with power has quietly given them permission. Somebody has decided that the protective umbrella comes down. Somebody has decided the friendly coverage stops. Somebody has decided that the reputation, which has been carefully polished for 30 years, is now going to be exposed to the elements. And that somebody is not a random reporter. That somebody sits at a table Jay-Z used to sit at. That is the level of shift we are witnessing. And once TMZ opens that door, the other outlets will follow. That is how the machine works. One publication breaks the seal, and then the rest realize the water is safe. Watch what happens over the next few weeks. Watch the tone shift in outlets that used to sing his praises. Watch the language get colder. Watch the sympathetic framing dry up. Because when the friendly press turns hostile, the empire is already cracking from the inside. And now let us zoom out. Because when you look at everything I just laid out, the desperate barbershop moment, the Mary J. Blige emergency vocalist maneuver, the Foxy Brown Instagram wipe, the manufactured Night 2 chaos, the Rihanna hostage cameo, the Pharrell poking the bear nonsense, the Eminem reconnaissance mission, and now, the biggest crack of all, TMZ publicly calling Jay-Z's freestyle a lie. You are not looking at a strong empire flexing. You are looking at a wounded empire panicking. You are looking at a household that has been so shaken by public scrutiny that it is throwing everything at the wall. The wife, the daughter, the friends, the loyalists, the guest features, the freestyles, and none of it is landing. This is not power. This is spectacle in place of power. And the audience can feel the difference. That is why the hashtags are not moving. That is why the fans on the internet spent Beyoncé's own night trying to force Nicki Minaj's name into the trending list. That is why every conversation about that tour keeps circling back to the woman who was not even in the building. Because the empire has lost narrative control. And once you lose narrative control at that altitude, you do not usually get it back.